You don't need a massive breakfast to stay strong after 60. You need the right one. Because this is where so many mornings go quietly wrong, and most people never realize it's happening. Breakfast looks harmless. A little toast, maybe some cereal, a cup of coffee or tea. Sometimes nothing at all. And then a couple of hours later, the energy starts dropping. Hunger returns earlier than expected. The body feels weaker and heavier than it should for that time of day. And almost nobody connects it back to what happened, or didn't happen, at the beginning of the morning. The reality is that after 60, breakfast carries more weight than most people give it credit for. In this video, I'm walking you through 7 high-protein breakfasts worth eating more often after 60. All of them are simple, filling, and practical enough to fit into a real morning, not just a good one. And a few of them are so easy and so repeatable, you may find yourself coming back to them week after week. This is one of the easiest strong breakfasts you can put together, and it asks almost nothing of you in return. No pan. No stove. No cleanup beyond rinsing a bowl. Just 2 minutes and a spoon. Start with 1 cup of Greek yogurt, plain or lightly sweetened. The reason Greek yogurt matters here is that it's significantly higher in protein than regular yogurt. 1 cup typically gives you around 15 to 20 grams of protein, which is a genuinely meaningful start to the morning. That's the kind of breakfast your muscles can actually make use of. Next, add about half a cup of fruit. Berries work beautifully. Banana slices are excellent. If chewing has become a bit more challenging, soft canned peaches packed in juice are a gentle and equally good option. Then add a small handful of high-fiber cereal or granola, roughly 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup. Not enough to make it feel heavy, but just enough to give the bowl some texture and staying power. A little cinnamon or a small drizzle of honey can round it out nicely. What makes this bowl so effective after 60 isn't just the protein count. It's the full picture working together. The yogurt supports muscle maintenance. The fruit brings fiber, vitamins, and natural sweetness that makes the bowl actually enjoyable. The cereal contributes slow-burning carbohydrates, which means your energy holds steadier rather than disappearing an hour later. This bowl is soft, balanced, and easy to finish even on the mornings when your appetite isn't particularly enthusiastic. And there's something worth saying about that texture. It feels light without being empty. Some breakfasts feel light because they offer almost nothing meaningful. This one feels light because it's genuinely easy to eat. But underneath that ease, it's doing real work. It's a breakfast that helps you start the day actually fed, not just fooled into thinking you've eaten enough. Sometimes familiar is exactly what makes a breakfast worth repeating. People are far more likely to come back to meals that feel comfortable and known. That matters more than most nutrition advice acknowledges, because the best breakfast isn't the one that sounds the most impressive. It's the one you'll actually make again tomorrow. Start with 1 or 2 slices of whole grain bread. Toast it if you enjoy a little texture, or keep it soft if that's more comfortable on a particular morning. Spread 1 to 2 tablespoons of peanut butter across the top. 2 tablespoons give you around 7 to 8 grams of protein, plus healthy fats that help keep hunger from returning too soon. Slice half to 1 banana over the toast. Then, if you'd like to make it stronger, add a tablespoon of oats or chia seeds. A glass of milk alongside or a few spoonfuls of Greek yogurt on the side takes it even further. On its own, this breakfast may not lead the protein rankings on this list. But that doesn't diminish it. When you combine whole grain toast, peanut butter, banana, and a small protein-rich side, the total reaches a very solid range for morning. And more importantly, you've created something you can prepare even in a tired, low-motivation state without turning the kitchen into a production. Nutritionally, it works in several quiet but consistent ways. Peanut butter contributes protein and fat, both of which slow digestion and help reduce those mid-morning energy dips that can feel so disorienting. Banana provides potassium, which supports both muscle function and nerve health. Whole grain bread and oats add fiber and slower carbohydrates, which helps blood sugar stay steadier and fullness last longer. This isn't a dramatic breakfast. It's a reliable one. And reliability matters more after 60 than most people openly admit, because low energy in the morning isn't always about age. Sometimes it's simply about a breakfast that disappears too quickly. This one stays with you. It asks very little and gives back considerably more than it looks like it should. Cottage cheese doesn't look exciting. And that's exactly why it gets underestimated. Because behind that modest appearance sits one of the strongest high-protein breakfast options you can keep in your refrigerator. Simple, soft, fast, and delivering a level of protein that many popular breakfast foods can't come close to matching. Start with 1 cup of cottage cheese. Depending on the brand, that typically gives you around 22 to 25 grams of protein. That's an excellent amount for a morning meal, particularly after 60, when the body becomes somewhat less efficient at utilizing protein and often needs a more generous amount at each meal to properly support muscle maintenance. Add half a cup of pineapple on top. Fresh or canned in juice and well drained, either works. The sweetness balances the cottage cheese in a way that makes the whole bowl feel more like a treat than a health decision. If pineapple isn't your preference, peaches, berries, or banana are all equally good choices. For extra fiber and healthy fats, add a teaspoon of chia seeds or ground flaxseed. The whole thing comes together in under 2 minutes. And what you get from those 2 minutes is genuinely impressive. Roughly 24 to 27 grams of protein in a breakfast that is cool, soft, gentle to eat, and more filling than it initially appears. Cottage cheese also contains casein protein, which digests at a slower rate than many other protein sources. That means it can help you feel satisfied for a longer stretch of the morning rather than leaving you looking for something to eat again before lunch. For Seeney's, texture matters far more than most recipes acknowledge. Some mornings the issue isn't willingness, it's comfort. Hard foods, dry foods, and foods that require significant chewing can feel like effort before the day has even started. This bowl doesn't. It's gentle on the mouth, easy on the stomach, and because it combines protein with a little fruit fiber, it helps support steadier energy through the rest of the morning. This breakfast makes an important point. A food doesn't need to look modern or interesting to be genuinely useful. Cottage cheese isn't trying to impress anyone. It's simply showing up with protein, calcium, and reliable support, and sometimes the quiet dependability is exactly what keeps a morning from quietly falling apart. This one feels a little more like a proper sit-down breakfast, but it's still straightforward enough to make without turning your morning into work. That balance matters. A breakfast can be perfectly nutritious on paper and still fail in practice if it asks too much of you before the day has found its rhythm. Start with 2 hard-boiled eggs. Boil them ahead of time and keep them in the fridge, or buy the pre-cooked, pre-peeled variety from the store if you want the process to be even simpler. 2 large eggs give you around 12 to 14 grams of high-quality, complete protein, meaning your body receives all the essential amino acids it needs from that single food. For older adults, that completeness matters. Muscle maintenance becomes increasingly important with each passing decade. And strength isn't only built in the gym. It's also determined by whether your meals are actually giving your body what it needs to hold onto the muscle you already have. Take 1 slice of whole grain toast and spread half a small avocado over the surface. Avocado doesn't contribute much protein, but it brings healthy fats, potassium, and a soft, creamy texture that makes the overall meal feel considerably more satisfying. Slice the eggs over the avocado, or mash everything together gently with a fork if you prefer a softer bite. Add a little black pepper, a few tomato slices if you have them, and a small pinch of salt if you'd like. To strengthen this breakfast further, a small cup of Greek yogurt or a glass of milk on the side can push the protein total closer to 20 grams or beyond, depending on what you choose. That's where this breakfast becomes particularly strategic. You're combining complete protein, healthy fat, and slow-digesting carbohydrates in one meal. That combination is specifically useful for supporting steadier energy and longer-lasting fullness, two things that matter a great deal when the rest of your morning still has hours to go. There's also something comforting about eggs in the morning that goes beyond nutrition. They feel familiar. They don't require learning anything new. They don't demand ingredients that will sit unused in the back of the fridge. They just quietly do their job well, morning after morning. And sometimes that's exactly the kind of breakfast that works best after 60. Not dramatic. Not trendy. Just strong, satisfying, and easy to return to. Some mornings, chewing takes more effort than it should. Some mornings' appetite is low before it's had a chance to wake up. Some mornings even a simple plate feels like too much to manage that early. That's where a well-built smoothie becomes more than just a convenient option. It becomes a genuinely practical way to keep nutrition from quietly slipping through the cracks. Start with 1 scoop of protein powder. Most provide around 20 to 25 grams of protein. Whey protein works well if dairy agrees with you. A plant-based blend is a solid alternative if you find it easier on your stomach. Add 1 cup of milk. Dairy milk contributes about 8 grams of protein, and fortified soy milk typically offers a similar amount. Add 1 tablespoon of peanut butter for another 4 grams of protein and some healthy fat. Add a 1/4 cup of rolled oats for fiber and slow-releasing carbohydrates. Then add half a banana for natural sweetness and a dose of potassium. Blend until smooth. What you now have is a breakfast that can comfortably land around 30 grams of protein depending on the specific ingredients you use. That's a powerful start to any morning, particularly for someone who may not feel like consuming much food first thing. And because it's drinkable, it becomes significantly more manageable on the days when chewing, swallowing, or simply having much of an appetite is genuinely more difficult. This breakfast earns its place for several reasons. It's efficient. Protein, fiber, healthy fat, and energy all arrive in 1 glass. It's flexible. If maintaining weight has become a concern, a little more nut butter or even a spoonful of olive oil adds calories without much extra volume. If you want it colder and thicker, add ice. If you'd prefer it gentler on the stomach, keep it simple. And here's what makes this particularly relevant after 60. Breakfast doesn't always have to look like breakfast. It just has to do the job. It has to give your body something real and useful to work with at the start of the day. Many older adults find that they gradually eat less over time, sometimes without fully noticing the shift happening. Appetite changes. Energy changes. Taste preferences change. A smoothie can help fill that nutritional gap without making food feel like another obligation to push through. There's something genuinely useful about a breakfast that feels easy but still carries real weight. You sip it, you move on with your morning, and while you do, your body is receiving the protein and energy support it actually needs. This one is for the mornings when you want something savory. Something that feels like a proper meal rather than a bowl or a drink. Something that can be assembled and finished in less time than it takes for the coffee to finish brewing. It's also one of the easiest high-protein breakfasts to build into a consistent routine, because the ingredients are simple, the assembly is straightforward, and the result is genuinely satisfying. Start with 1 soft whole grain tortilla. Lay down about 3 ounces of low-sodium sliced turkey across the surface. That gives you approximately 18 to 20 grams of protein depending on the brand. Add 1 slice of cheese for another 5 to 7 grams. If you want a little freshness in the wrap, a few spinach leaves or a thin tomato slice work well. A A spread of mustard or hummus adds flavor without much effort. Roll it up gently. Cut it in half if that's easier to manage. You're now looking at roughly 23 to 27 grams of protein from a breakfast that took about 3 minutes to put together. That's an excellent return for that level of effort. And because the protein comes from 2 different sources, turkey and cheese, it helps make the meal both more filling and more effective at supporting muscle maintenance. The tortilla contributes carbohydrates for energy, and the small amount of fat from the cheese slows digestion just enough to help the meal last longer into the morning. One important thing to pay attention to is sodium. Deli meats can be surprisingly salty, and that's worth monitoring, particularly for older adults who are mindful of blood pressure. Read the label when buying turkey. Look for lower sodium options. It's a small habit that makes a meaningful difference over time. What makes this breakfast particularly easy to appreciate is how undemanding it is on a morning. It feels organized. It leaves no pile of dishes. No pan to scrub. And if appetite is genuinely low, eating half now and saving the other half for later is completely reasonable. The wrap holds together well and waits without complaint. This last breakfast is simple, filling, and considerably more powerful than it appears at first glance. In fact, it makes one of the most important points about eating after 60, that a breakfast doesn't need to be hot, elaborate, or time-consuming to genuinely support your body. It just needs to bring real nutrition to the table. And this one does that quietly and consistently. Start with 3/4 to 1 full cup of cottage cheese. Depending on the brand and how much you use, that gives you approximately 18 to 25 grams of protein. Add half a banana, sliced over the top. Then stir in 1 tablespoon of peanut butter. If the peanut butter is too thick to mix easily, warm it for a few seconds or simply work it in gradually. Add a sprinkle of cinnamon if you enjoy it. For a little more texture, a spoonful of oats or a few lightly crushed nuts round it out nicely. That's the entire preparation. What you now have is a breakfast with roughly 22 to 29 grams of protein, and the range depends simply on how much cottage cheese you've used. That's a genuinely excellent start for the morning. Not just because the number looks good, but because the protein is structured in a way that's actually useful. Cottage cheese is rich in casein protein, which digests slowly and helps you remain satisfied for a longer stretch of time rather than feeling hungry again before the morning is half over. Peanut butter adds another layer of protein alongside healthy fats that contribute to the overall sense of satisfaction. Banana brings softness, potassium, and natural sweetness that makes the whole bowl pleasant to eat, not something you're forcing yourself through out of obligation. That combination matters more than people often realize. A breakfast that helps you feel full, settled, and comfortable is one you'll actually keep eating. If breakfast leaves you hungry again within an hour, it's not doing enough. If it feels like too much effort to prepare or too much work to chew, it's asking more than it should. This bowl avoids both of those problems. It's soft, quick to put together, unexpectedly satisfying, and quietly supportive in ways that carry forward into the rest of your morning. It's also one of the more flexible breakfasts on this list. If appetite is low, make a smaller portion. If you need more calories because you've been eating less than usual or losing weight without intending to, use the full cup of cottage cheese with a generous spoonful of peanut butter. If chewing is more difficult, keep the toppings soft. If you want more fiber, add oats or chia seeds. It adjusts to real life. And that adaptability makes it a breakfast genuinely worth repeating. If you step back and look at all 7 of these breakfasts together, something becomes clear. None of them are extreme. None of them require culinary skill. None of them demand a full kitchen performance before the day has even properly started. And that's precisely why they matter. The mistake many people make after 60 is assuming breakfast doesn't need much attention. They tell themselves that lunch or dinner is where real nutrition begins. But breakfast sets the tone for everything that follows. It's the first signal your body receives at the start of the day. And if that signal is weak, a little toast, a bowl of sugary cereal, or nothing at all, the rest of the morning often becomes harder than it needs to be. Energy drops faster than it should. Hunger returns sooner. The body gets less support than it's asking for. Over time, that pattern quietly works against you in ways that are easy to miss until they accumulate. That's why protein at breakfast matters so specifically. It helps support muscle maintenance. And muscle, after 60, isn't just about fitness. Muscle is balance. Muscle is getting out of bed in the morning without struggling. Muscle is climbing stairs without needing to hold on. Muscle is carrying groceries, standing long enough to cook, walking with confidence, and holding onto the independence that makes daily life feel manageable and dignified. Breakfast contributes to all of that. Which means it isn't a small, forgettable meal. It's the foundation of the day. And here's something worth saying clearly. Breakfast doesn't need to be large to be effective. You don't need to sit down to a heavy spread you don't even want. You just need the right kind of breakfast. One with enough protein to actually do something useful. One that includes some fiber, some healthy fat, or some steady carbohydrates so it stays with you rather than disappearing within the hour. One that fits your actual appetite rather than fighting against it. That's what these 7 breakfasts are genuinely about. Greek yogurt with fruit and cereal. Peanut butter banana oat toast. Cottage cheese with pineapple. Egg and avocado toast. A protein smoothie with oats and nut butter. A turkey and cheese breakfast roll-up. And a cottage cheese, peanut butter, and banana bowl. Different textures. Different flavors. Different moods. But all of them built around the same purpose, helping you start each day a little stronger than you would have otherwise. Eating better after 60 doesn't mean chasing perfect nutrition at every meal. It means making a few more thoughtful, easy choices that your body can benefit from, again and again. The kind of choices that are simple enough to actually keep. Because consistency is what creates results over time. Not perfection. So don't worry about making every breakfast ideal. Just make it better. Start with one of these. Keep the ingredients in the house so the option is always there. Repeat the ones you genuinely enjoy. Let breakfast gradually stop being an afterthought and start being something that quietly helps carry the rest of your day. When breakfast gets stronger, mornings tend to get easier. And when mornings get easier, life often feels more manageable in ways that go well beyond what's in the bowl. A good breakfast after 60 isn't about impressing anyone. It's about supporting yourself, quietly, practically, and consistently. And that kind of support, repeated often enough, adds up to something that genuinely matters. If this video was helpful, leave a comment below and let me know which of these high-protein breakfasts you'd actually try first. And if you enjoy simple, senior-friendly meals that make eating easier and stronger after 60, subscribe to Easy Eats for Seniors. New videos every week, made just for you.